of 38, 42 years old, whew, we got the money, we got the time, we'd really like to have a baby. Good luck with that one. Because tick, tick, tick. Yeah, we're talking biology here, and the biological clock is ticking away, and at 42 years old, is it going to be very easy to have babies? Been there, done this. Been there, done that one. Spent about $50,000 trying to have a baby. Oh, yeah. We both made tenure, we both got our PhDs. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't you also argue that adolescent is, you have discovered more biological evidence that adolescents are still growing, they're still maturing, stuff like that, to where they can still be considered a child but not fully an adult yet?
Depends on the needs of society. Yes, now the biological growth in terms of physical size does a little more of that. But in terms of reproductive ability, no, that's in place. The stuff you're talking about is largely cognitive. Yes, we know about adolescence. Until late adolescence, the frontal lobes have not clicked in fully, and therefore the ability to do long-term rational planning is limited. But that's only important in an industrial society. Long-term rational planning, does it make an awful lot of difference if you're a friggin' farmer? Yeah. No, get busy, reproduce. We need more hands on the land to start pulling in the corn, harvesting the wheat. No, you're right, there is some evidence of that biologically, but that's irrelevant until you get a very complex society that needs those highly sophisticated kinds of mental activities. And that's why we invent adolescence in the first place, why it's socially constructed. It's not biology. It's the demands of society for these very complex roles of doctor. How long does it take to become a doctor? A medicine? 10 years? Oh, at least. Well, depending, you start with preschool, then kindergarten, then elementary school, middle school, high school, then 4 years of pre-med, then 4 years med school, then residency. Oh my God. Okay, that takes a long time. You've got to deny biology in the process. Even just becoming an elementary school teacher. You got to get your BA, then you got to get your master's in most cases, or at least a teaching credential. Okay, so you get the picture. This ain't biology. It's very much society. Okay, any questions on that? Questions? Concerns? Okay. Let's talk about micro-sociology, interactional sociology. Could I get the light, because I want to do a little experiment. Could I turn on the light if you would, please? I'm going to do a little experiment here. So, interactional sociology is micro-sociology. We were talking just a while ago about Mead. Remember, Mead is the father of interactional sociology. Interactional sociology is micro-sociology. How come? Why do we call it micro?
Because it's focusing on the small stuff.
Yeah, it focuses on small stuff. Like what?
Like, for example, what's her name? Bubbles?
Yeah, bubbles.
Yeah. Like, when it started all the way down from like high school, and like the people that she hanged out with and called her.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at real people, what real people do in their everyday life, which is why this kind of sociology is sometimes referred to as the sociology of everyday life.
What's the word after nonverbal? Communication, I think. Right there.
Where?
You put the pictures on top of the word on the slide.
Oh,
Rules of governing nonverbal
Communication.
Yeah.
second bullet point.
Yeah, it's got to be communication. 'cause it's
nonverbal.
incident.
Oh, I see. Yeah, communication. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication. Remember the whole debate here between the interactionists and the other macro sociologists. The interactionists are saying these big guys, these folks like functionalists and conflict theorists, have got the cart before the horse. They're trying to explain what you and I are doing by invoking these very glossy, very large abstractions called society. they're going to try and tell you how come you're sitting in this classroom is because of that Industrial Revolution 200 and 500 years ago. They'll talk about things like the American family. Yeah, remember Bubbles? I don't remember this class. Was it Bubbles?
Yeah.
Oh, was it Bubbles? Okay. Yeah, she was a girl like any other. Well, no, not for the functionalists. How come? The crisis in the family, the threat of affairs. Society needs to protect the family, and therefore she performs a function. In other words, it's the nature of the family. But that doesn't exist. Neither does economic inequality exist. No, neither does the American class structure. American culture? Is that a thing that's real like this podium? I can pound on the podium, I can try and carve my initials in it. I can take a fork and I can stick you and you will bleed. Can I stick a fork in American culture? How about the American family? No, because those are abstract. When was the last time you were walking to school and you, whoops, tripped on a perfectly good culture someone left lying around? Oh look, it's French culture. Notice the beret and the red wine. What? That's not real the way this voting is real, and certainly not real the way you and I are real. So the interactionists say, let's start by taking a look what real people do. That makes them psychologists. But there are social psychologists as well, which means they want to look at what people do in groups. Real people. And what real people do mostly is things like what? Talk. Talk. So this is what we're doing in everyday life. This micro stuff. And what kind of stuff are they interested in looking at? I mean, things like talk. We'll go into this in more depth in just a second. But there's some really bizarre stuff these interactionists study. It seems silly. There was an interactionist study of how people give directions. How people talk. In this case, studying direction giving. What? Someone walks up to you and says, excuse me, where's the library? You're going to take a look at it. And you're going to decide whether they've ever been on campus before. If not, you'll probably use a physical landmark to give directions. See those trees over there? It's on the other side of the trees. If, on the other hand, you judge that they've been on campus before but just never been to a library, you take a look, oh, this guy looks like a jock. You know where the gym is? It's on the other side of the gym. Two different ways of giving directions. Okay, 300 pages of analysis of how people give directions. And so the question that maybe you're asking, and other sociologists, particularly the macro sociologists, ask is, so what? Are there rules for giving directions to how people, are there rules about giving directions? Yes, there are. So what? Who cares? What's this? This is also the kind of stuff these interactionists study. Now, there's probably a teacher, at least some students now on the other side of this room, of this wall, who are kind of some weird guys tapping on the wall. But if they were to tap back, what would they do? They go, da-da-da-da-da. What are they going to do? Da-da. Is there a rule about tapping on walls? Yep. Yep, there's a rule. And that's what interactionists study. And the question the macro people say is, so what? But how about this? It gets even weirder. There was actually an article written by an interactional sociologist that analyzed this statement. The baby cried, the mommy picked it up. No, not a whole paragraph, not a whole page, just that simple little statement. An article of something like 25 pages long, analyzing how we know that the baby is the mommy's baby, and that the it refers to the baby, and up is a form of direction relative to where the... What? Oh, and I'm not even done, because it gets even weirder than that. There was an interactional study of behavior in male urinals. Now, I mean, some of you will not really understand where I'm going with this, but others will. Like over here, if you go into the male bathroom over here, the general, not the faculty, because we have a private one, but a general public restroom for a male, you'll walk into a door, and like a big place like this, there'll maybe be, I don't know, there'll be the usual places for everybody, like the little compartment, you can close the door and sit down and do your business. But then there's the urinals, and you can go in as a guy and stand up and do your business. And there may be like 7, 8, 10 urinals. You walk into a bathroom as a male, and there's 5 over here and 6 over here. Is there a rule, guys, about where you stand when you go into a urinal like that?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So you go in there, you're doing your business. Okay, I'm not really doing this thing. The next person, the next guy in, what's the rule?
One over.
At least one over. You got to leave at least one between you and the next guy. But what happens if you violate that? And that, that was what was being studied. The impact, the violation of interactional space. I'm not making this up. The sociologists went in and studied, as people became closer and closer to somebody, what was the impact physiologically, which they measured by the ability to initiate urination. Okay, that is, I will not demonstrate this, I promise. That is, you have it out. It's now available to begin urination. How much time will it now take to begin that process of flow? Start the top watch. 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. To see if there's kind of performance anxiety, as it were, as people stand closer and closer to you. Now I know what you may be asking. How the hell do they study that? Graduate students. A graduate student will do anything for a PhD. Been there, done that one. And he sent these guys out with stopwatches into bathrooms to measure this. Now you couldn't just stand around and say, okay dude, let's go for it. No, because, weppo. What he did was send them out there with the stopwatches and periscopes. And they were to go into the places that everybody has, in places you can sit down and close the door. And they can sit in there, close the door, and then up periscope. And they wait till somebody comes in. And they're doing this. Can you imagine if they caught somebody doing this? What are you doing? Sociology. Okay. And they literally had a graph. I'm not making this up. Of urinary flow as a function of physical proximity. Get it? P. I need that. Okay. What? What? Yeah, there's a rule. The closer you stand, the longer it takes to urinate. So the hell what? Who cares? But what's the point about this? Isn't this, according to the interactions, where we live day to day? This is what we spend most of our time doing. These little activities. Look, in contrast to the stuff that